What was your first impression from Ostrava's performance yesterday?
Well, my first impression is also my last impression. I am overwhelmed. It is much more than I had expected, and I was expecting very good things. So just to put it simple, it is a really international class production, including everything. The direction, the staging, the costumes, the video projections in double screens, and the choreography. The ensemble is just perfect, I must say, with such an energy and passion. And all the principals, I just love every one of them. And absolutely world-class conductor, the young man. And where I was also very pleasantly surprised is the quality of the orchestra. So in all, and I like the sound too, you know, the sound engineer and the sound design. So I couldn't tell you anything but good things about Rebecca Ostrava.
Your musicals are trademarked for Vienna musical scene. But also they are played all around the world. Is there any difference between audience in Vienna, in Ostrava, or Japan, Korea?
I would say generally no. Generally, the audience is everywhere reacting the same way, with a small difference. You know, each country has its tradition, its culture, and so. And but I think also. My wife Monica just said something this morning, because she is very involved musically, also very talented. She says, you know, because I'm a born Hungarian, I was born in former Yugoslavia, I live in Germany, I was 20 years in Los Angeles, so, and now many years always in Asia. So my music has everything from the world, you know. So what I collect on experiences in life, I don't do it intentionally, but it just comes like this. And I think maybe that is also a little bit of the reason why it appeals to different nations, you know.
Where is the difference between musicals from Broadway or West End and your musicals from Vienna?
Yeah, well, you know, particularly Michael Kunz and I, when we were working on Elizabeth 28 years ago, we decided that we don't want to do a formula of Broadway or West End, which is fine because that's a special musical formula, so that we have a song or two songs and then like 5 or 10 minutes dialogue. We said we want to put the whole drama with music together, and where we don't have singing but important drama dialogue, then I underscore it with music, so it's always musically connected, you know. And I think that's a little bit different than the others, but I think it's every style has its grounds and its reasons.
You mentioned your long life partner Michael Kunze, and this is very nice situation because you are together for almost 40 years, and there is always fight between drama and music, words and music, and you are a composer. When you're composing, what is the most important from the words from you?
For me, first of all, it's most important that I know the story, that I know the principles, the characters. What are they living through this particular piece? What do they have in relationship to the other principles? So I do have to understand it. So therefore, Michael writes always first like a synopsis, so I can read this one many times and I get the feeling for the people, you know, because I cannot start to compose a song just because I say, okay, this is a song from Miss Danvers, and he said, I have to know the particular situation in that moment when she's singing it, what are her emotions, what are her dramatic situation, and then I start to compose. And mostly after that, Michael writes the lyrics to it, you know. There was in Rebecca the first time a big exception where I have asked Michael to write me the lyric for one specific scene where I want to do the music for the lyrics that exist. And that was the confession of Maxime in second act, when he confesses to that he has, you know, kind of murdered Rebecca. And I never forget her smile, that's that song. And it is really like a 6-minute long song, and he sent me all the lyrics. And I was just reading the lyrics, and after time, and started to compose the lyrics. And that was for me a very new experience, and I must say I really liked it. So since then we do it always again when a particular dramatic situation occurs.
You may now, for almost 27 years, consider yourself as a musical composer for musical theatre, but your roots are quite rich for this. You were a Hollywood composer, you were a disco producer, so what was your real musical influence, your roots? Tell us about the source of your music.
Well, you know, my father was a writer and journalist, and my mother was professor in the music school. So we had a piano at the house. My two elder brothers were, one was architect, the other was an engineer, but they were playing piano and French horn, and so I have, as a kid, I have seen them playing. So I started with 6 years to play piano, and at first, you know, I was really hooked on classical music. Chopin was he's still my big piano composer. And then later on I was going into American popular music, you know, be it not as much Elvis Presley, but like Louis Prima and this kind of really rhythmical popular music. And then after that I was switched over to jazz music. I was a big fan first from Oscar Peterson. I was really practicing a lot and playing a lot of Oscar Peterson. Then later on, as you evolve, you know, then I was playing the style of Bill Evans. He was a very intelligent piano player. And then the orchestra of Gil Evans, Miles Davis, and so. And so these were my main music impressions while I was at the music high school and so. Then I went from former Yugoslavia to Germany on a tour with a band, and we were actually a commercial band, playing on an afternoon concert or evening or a dance or so. So we played every kind of a music.
So your roots were very rich about the classical music, but then you changed to disco, and then you changed to become a Hollywood composer. Tell us the difference, how this has changed. And how
you know, when I was a kid, you know, we were lucky in Yugoslavia because we had American movies in the 50s. You know, the first movie in our small town called Maria Teresiopol, but in our language it's called Subotica, 100,000 people around. We had, I think it was like 1955 or 56, the first CinemaScope movie. And the first movie was Carmen with Harry Belafonte, funny, and not a cowboy movie. We had cowboy movies in the other cinemas. So I was hooked very much to movies. And then came Cat on a Hot Thin Roof with Elizabeth Taylor and Paul Newman, and there was a score with only one piano in this movie, and I was, I think, 12 years old. And I said, I must do film music, because the music that I heard and the drama that I saw, that was a connection, and that's where my dream for film music started. But that was also the start for later on for musicals, where music is telling also the dramatic story, not only a song, you know.
So it was a smooth change from Hollywood composer to theater musical composer.
Well, it was not that kind of a smooth, but it was Michael and I. We had world success, and then Grammy awards and everything, and then we were doing every week like a factory. You were producing, and then we got tired of it. So Michael said, "You know what? I'm gonna write books now. What are you gonna do?" I said, "I'm going to Hollywood." But this was to try, you know. I didn't know if it's going to happen. So, but luckily, then everything went right.
It's hard to try to have a Grammy and then start to become a Hollywood composer.
Well, to be quite honest, it was helpful because what I also noticed, Hollywood is like a fashion system. When you have a success here or there, then you're interesting, you know. And when I went there, they said, "Hey, this guy is a Grammy Award winner. He comes from Europe, and he has different medals in his heart," and so that's what they liked. And I was doing many movies. You know, I was working like crazy, but it was wonderful.
Yeah, and then you became a theatrical composer, and the first title was Elizabeth. What was your first impression when Elizabeth comes on the scene?
Yeah, the one thing that I noticed later on afterwards is I didn't have the pressure because this was something new that I'm doing. After Elizabeth, when we were writing Mozart, I had a pressure because I had a success, you know, and this was with disco music too. When we got #1 in America with Fly, Robin Fly, I wrote that song like this. But after that, wow, I have to write another hit. You know, and it's always in each and every section when you are successful, to keep up the success, that's the difficult thing, you know. So Elizabeth was really good fun because I didn't have a pressure. Michael and I, we were nervous because we were not sure if it's going to be a success. We were always joking, we will have a taxi waiting in front of the theater with a running engine, and in the intermission, we will just split up if it's not a success. But luckily, that didn't happen, you know.
Yes, and then came Mozart. How difficult is to write a musical for composer about musical composer?
About the musical composer. Well, you know, Michael asked me, because it was again his idea, he says, "How about we write a musical about Mozart?" He says, "One thing, I have already one idea, theatrical idea. We will have the small Amadei, this kid genius, always on the stage beside Wolfgang, the grown-up Mozart. Nobody's gonna see the kid, just Wolfgang, and they communicate. Wolfgang is not singing, not talking." And then I said, okay, this is the solution. When Amadei is on stage, I can play short parts of original Mozart music, so I don't disturb it, destroy it. And when we with Wolfgang, he's a rock and roll guy. He was a rock and roll guy. So then we can do original music. And so then the only chance you have to give your heart a pump and say, go ahead and do it. And don't look right back, just forward. You have to do it with full heart. Here I had Amadei to bring always the respect for this big composer. But in the middle, I had to go my way, you know, and that's the only possible way to do it.
And you did because, like Elizabeth and Mozart, they were very successful all around the world.
Yes.
And these were the drama musicals, the original drama musicals. Then you made a big success with not original story, but adapted story from Daphne du Maurier's book, Rebecca. And you wrote many melodies, and especially the monumental title song, Rebecca. What was the difference between these two previous musicals and Rebecca? And was the Rebecca most important thing for you when you wrote all music?
Yeah. You know, Rebecca actually came to us. Forgive me. sorry. Rebecca actually came to us. I remember Michael was at that time living in Los Angeles, in New York. I was in Los Angeles. He came to me to Los Angeles. We sat whole week, every day, talking and looking at movies and looking at books, reading books. What's our next musical? At one point, we thought we were going to make a musical out of a wonderful movie, It's a Wonderful Life, with James Stewart, and I think it was a wonderful Christmas story actually. But then I made research and found out that in America some universities made already like a, not successful, but a musical, so we skipped that. Then we had Wuthering Heights, also a big drama. And then we, because I had a lot of movies at my house in Los Angeles, oh, this is Rebecca. We knew Rebecca, not only the movie, but the book too. But we didn't think about it. So I put in the movie, the DVD, we looked at it and we say, okay, let's talk about it. Is it possible to put Rebecca on a musical stage? Because it's a drama, and it took us, I think, a whole week just to, explore. And then at the end of the week, we said, yes, we can do it. And what it was, Michael went back to New York, and I was so full of this impression, not only of the book, of the movie too, but of our brainstorming, that I started to compose immediately. And the first two songs were the songs from Mrs. Demers. Was Rebecca and She's Invincible. Yes. It just came like that, and all the songs that I've written for Rebecca came really from the impression of the story. But also, to me, it's the same when I was writing another musical, because I have the synopsis. But this made on me such a deep impression that it was just going like this.
It's a quite tricky or good intention to have a musical where title character is not involved in the drama.
Yeah, that is a big thing, and the way Daphne du Maurier built up this drama is that really made me really crazy in positive way. She waited until the third act of the book, or in the middle of the second act, when she pops the secret. She says, yes, I'm sorry that I did this, and I know you love Rebecca, and you will always love Rebecca. And he says, love Rebecca, I hated her. That's the thing in the story. That's when everything changes. Because I says, what? You didn't love Rebecca and you love me? And then she becomes the strongest lion in the world and brings him back to life and happiness. Wow.
So, and then Rebecca made international success.
Yeah.
How many shows or how many countries did you see the show?
Well, I will try to be quick. Vienna, of course, and we were really nervous if Vienna's going to work, but it was immediately, thank God, a success. Then, I don't know exactly which countries came first, but it was also then Japan, then Hungary, then Switzerland, then Germany in Stuttgart, and then Korea. And in Korea, still this year they play it still. It's a huge success. And also I think it is like this musical with this so strong emotion and drama, and in the end love wins. This gets under the skin from people everywhere.
Have you been surprised by the success in South Asia? Or your musicals in South Asia are extremely popular. Were you surprised from this?
Japan, extremely pleasantly surprised. But you don't get this information in a day. They play now Elizabeth 20 years already. in two different productions in Japan. One is the traditional women theater and the other, the big one. And it grows on you. Korea came faster. Mozart was an instant success. And Rebecca hit me most strongly because the intensity how the audience went.
I was in Korea and I've seen the showcase of Rebecca when we were in Korea. I think that maybe the success of Rebecca is mainly because I've seen a lot of movies Korean and they have a very similar touch of drama.
Yeah.
Yes, perhaps. And let's skip it to another question. You wrote these three big Viennese musicals, but you are also fluent in South Asia, and there are other musicals which Europeans doesn't know. They don't know anything about your new musicals in Asia. Tell us about it.
First of all, 10 years ago, our partners in Tokyo, Toho Theatrical Company, asked Michael and me to write them a musical about the French Queen Marie Antoinette. And it had a world premiere in Tokyo in October 2006, which will then it went to Germany, to Hungary, and it will come back to Japan again. It was 2 years ago also in Korea. And then a few years later they asked us to write them another one about the young Queen Elizabeth in England, about her youth, where she went, big dramatic things, yeah. And then last year it was a big surprise. The same company in Tokyo asked me to write the music for a Japanese, very successful manga book. It's a fantastic story, and these mangas are, with pictures and beautiful people and very romantic sagas. And here it's like a time travel from a young girl from New York in the 80s to 3,000 years back to a young pharaoh who falls in love with her, but his half-sister wants him as well, so she wants to kill this young girl. The Turkish and the Egyptian have war, so it's like a monumental show that I've written the music to Japanese story, and that's also a very, very interesting task. I had lots of fun.
Yes, the last question. From 8 years ago, it was Mozart in Brno. It was the first show of Levay team in Czech Republic. Now it's Rebecca. You mean that you are now established in Czech Republic? And what do you expect from the opening nights of Rebecca? And what do you want from Czech audience? And what do you expect from Czech audience?
I don't expect from Czech audience, they are expecting from us that we come to them, as you did now here in Ostrava, with shows that will move them, that will enrich their lives. These people everywhere in the world, they work every day, week, months, years, and then one day they go to theater and have, like yesterday, this wonderful show that you did. They have experienced something they took with them home. They were dreaming about it, and it helps them to compare things also in their life. So it's not only entertainment, it's not only culture, it enriches their lives. And it's our duty to give to the audience, not that we expect from them. We have to, of course, make it interesting enough to draw them to the theater, but if we give them this, then we have done wonderful things. And I wish that in many countries in this world, theater producers not only look at the numbers of money, they should look for the audience. Like in big opera houses in the world, it's like millions and millions of euros are invested, and there are just a few performances for the upper class. And there are the people out there, the millions of people. This is our duty to give them something too. And that's why I hope that this kind of production, as Ostrava did, which is world class, really, that this will come more and more and we give more and more to the people.
Mr. Levay, thank you for your interview.
My pleasure, and I'm out of here.
Yes.